Honorable Chair, distinguished educators and respected members of the House, good afternoon. My name is M.Sayfullah.S and I'm from Vocational High School 73, Jakarta. I rise today to affirm that this House believes that environmental movements should launch aggressive, escalatory campaigns against major polluting companies. Let me begin by clarifying what we mean by aggressive and escalatory. We do not advocate violence, destruction, or harm. Rather, we call for strong, coordinated, and persistent nonviolent actions, including public protests, strategic litigation, shareholder pressure, economic boycotts, and large-scale civil disobedience. In other words, we call for the escalation in determination and impact, not in violence. Honorable members, we are living through the greatest environmental emergency in human history. From melting ice caps to toxic air pollution, from coral bleaching to catastrophic floods, the evidence is overwhelming. Corporate actors are among the largest contributors to the crisis, yet they continue to prioritize short-term profit over the health of people and the planet. When polite advocacy, petitions, and dialogue have failed for decades, escalation becomes not a matter of choice but more of necessity. Environmental movements represent the collective conscience of humanity. The responsibility is to act when institutions remain silent. Escalating their campaign is therefore an act of ethical defense to protect lives, ecosystem, and future generations from irreversible harm. The second reason is the persistent accountability gap between the corporate power and public responsibility. Many major polluting companies engage in what is commonly known as greenwashing, making promises of sustainability while continuing to harmful practice behind the scenes. Regulatory systems are often too weak or too slow to respond effectively, frequently constrained by the corporate lobbying and political influence. Thus, environmental movements must serve as a counterbalancing force. Through intensified campaigns, legal challenges, public investigations, and financial pressure, activists can make environmental harm more expensive and reputationally damaging than inaction. Escalation becomes a means to compel corporations to internalize the true cause of air pollution. In simple terms, if companies will not change voluntarily, then they must be forced to change through the power of public pressure. Our third argument, or the last, is that escalation, when non-violent and strategic, is demonstrably effective. Similarly, modern environmental movements have seen tangible results. Lawsuits have compelled companies to reveal their carbon footprints, boycotts have pushed firms to adopt greener supply chains, peaceful protests have reshaped national climate policies. Escalation draws attention, influences investors, and mobilises communities. It turns abstract concern into concrete political and economic costs. That's how the change occurs. Opponents may argue that the escalation is alienating to the public only if it's violent or unfocused. When movements act peacefully, clearly, and with moral conviction, they inspire empathy rather than hostility. The world rarely moves without discomfort, escalation that creates the tension necessary to reform. Finally, some may argue that such campaigns harm workers and economics. Yet true, environmental activism seeks not to destroy jobs, but to transform them. Movements today advocate for these transitions. Less administrative workers are retrained and protected as industries shift towards sustainability. Escalation is directed at corporate irresponsibility, not at ordinary workers. In conclusion, Honorable Chair, members of the House, in a world where environmental destruction accelerates daily, inaction has become competitive. Environmental movements have weighed, negotiated, and appealed to conscience, yet pollution and carbon emissions continue to rise. The time for polite requests has passed. Thank you very much for the time.